from Quantum to KFC, you completely changed the industry, right? From pure research into actually execution, which is two very different animals.
That itself was a reinvention and a pivot for me. I knew nothing about digital marketing. I knew nothing about e-commerce. So even at that time, it was a big change. I don't have a brand backing. So I have to build my own brand. I think that was a big mindset shift.
If I'm going to work with different industries, obviously I will not have enough knowledge about those industries. When we start telling our stories back to ourselves, it is really interesting to see, what all we have done. And frankly, we connected because your new role was the one that that seemed more like a pivot. But from Quantum to KFC, also in itself, you completely changed the industry, right? Because you went from pure research into actually execution, which is two very different animals.
Absolutely. I didn't think of it till you said it, but I think it's true. Like, that itself was a reinvention and a pivot for me, because one, I was always the strategic sort of guidance, cultural insights, trend spotting person, consumer insights, behavior person. And then it was like, okay, now get into hardcore marketing, how do you talk in the language that a consumer would understand, right? How do you speak back to them what you know about them, right? It's a different way of looking at the customer. I knew nothing about digital marketing. I knew nothing about e-commerce or, store marketing. So even at that time, it was a big change. And then again, after 9.5 years, I decided to make another big change, right? Which is let me try doing it myself, right? Yeah. So I think, this is the second pivot in my life. I didn't realize.
Consumer research in itself gives you so much information about what's happening within a country as well, right? So when you decided to come back to India and when you decided to choose the industry or choose the kind of people that you're working with, what were some of the thoughts that were going on in your mind? What made India so exciting?
So when I was looking at India and I saw, and to be honest, this wasn't my first preference, right? It was, let me look at the job market as always. I've always been in corporate or in, proper 9 to 5 and all that. But when I got here, I was like, but there is so much energy and buzz and people doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And just being happy doing it, right? And they're starting up their own brands or companies or organizations. Tech was booming. People had their own little, studios and stuff like that. And, and then I took a reflection and I was like, well, maybe I have just been too narrow in that approach, right? I have just been, one job and then let's move to another job and then whatever, continue. But when I got here, I was supremely impressed with the energy. Like all I could see was startups. All I could see was, founder culture. All I can see is, people doing multiple things. And I think somewhere that kind of infected me in a way that I was like, I want to be part of this. I want to feel that energy and I want to feel that buzz and I want to be a part of that vibe. So I think that's probably why India, because in MENA and in the Gulf region, you actually don't see it that much. People are far more structured and, they're still in that corporate life circle, but I think in India, people are far more experimentative.
Yeah, there is a lot of creativity in the chaos that is India.
Yes,
I can totally feel that energy and buzz from you. And while you were working here, or when you started working and you found your own clients and you started, working with the different founders, was there like a certain mindset shift that you had to do for yourself after working for so long? In a cushy job.
Yeah. And actually, it wasn't like one or two. There were like a lot of them because I think after 18 years of being in a certain routine environment, it's obviously not routine, but what I am now, that was routine.
Yeah.
Right. So after being in there for so long, you actually, I think one of the biggest things I realized is you start relying on the brand to give you credibility.
Okay.
Right. So my credibility comes because I am the marketing director at KFC or I am the AVP at Quantum. Right. So you build yourself with that backing and that persona. When you're doing it yourself, you don't have those crutches, actually. Right. You just like, okay, this is just me. So why should this founder or this person or whoever, this organization engage with just me? So that mindset shift was something that I think took me a little while to kind of come to terms with, that I can't rely on this anymore. Like I can't take the backing of, I don't have a brand backing. So I have to build my own brand. Right. And I think that's where, it came into being that, okay, how do I build my brand? What are my values? What do I stand for? And what is the message that I'm sending out to the world in my conversations, in my LinkedIn, in my social, everywhere. So I think that was a big mindset shift. And that took a lot of time to get comfortable with, right? It wasn't an easy one. I think the second most important one for me would be like just being okay with asking dumb questions. Like, because when you're in corporate and when you're leading, especially teams, you have the teams who will do a lot of things for you. They come back, they might be the ones asking, silly little innocent questions, or you ask them and, not the whole world gets to know in a way, right?
Yeah.
But now when you're doing it yourself, you kind of don't know. Like some days I'm dealing with a fintech company. Tomorrow I'm dealing with a, F&B, or I'm dealing with a mithai company or something. These aren't industries that I am necessarily, fully aware of. Yeah. And I don't have command in that category.
Yeah.
So I have to be humble or silly enough to actually ask the questions, right? And I have to ask 50 questions. And sometimes it can be annoying, but, like you learn to ask a lot more, I think, because when you're in the brand side or when you're in the corporate side, you're naturally fed a lot of questions. There is so much data flowing in there. Everybody's throwing data in your face. This is how many awareness campaigns. This is our conversion rate. This is our whatever, right? Everybody's throwing data at your face. Here you have to go ask for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that was another shift because I wasn't used to that much of asking and probing. You feel like, will they feel offensive? Will they feel bad? But now I'm like, no, I have to ask. This is my job. If I don't know you well enough, I can't help you.
And one clear learning point that you kind of identified for yourself was the fact that if I'm going to work with different industries, obviously I will not have enough knowledge about those industries. What was one of the skills that you would have developed over time that came a lot into play?
Yeah. So I think two, probably one from each of my organizations, right? Okay. Like from my time in consumer insights, I think that is the most valuable. I think that I have used irrespective of where I've gone after, right? So I think that has just taught me, like, how do you stay connected to the ground? How do you listen right? How do you understand what's not being said? Because a lot of times consumers don't know what they want. They absolutely don't. You show them 5 concepts, they like all 5 also, right? So but how do I know which one of those is the one that I need to kind of take forward? So I think being able to decode, I mean, I'm not saying I've learned it 100%, but being able to sort of nuance that, decode it, and then package it in a way that is actionable. I think that is something that I've definitely picked up over the years, mostly from Quantum and then from my KFC experience. And then specifically from KFC, I would say the ability to kind of work at both long-term and short-term, right? Okay. Because that, again, to me was something that when you're in hardcore marketing or in a proper corporate, multinational kind of corporate structure where you have global brand values, you have global campaigns running, how do you kind of balance a global voice and then distill it down to cultural nuances, cultural relevance, and then also drive short-term conversions and sales, right? So that's the end objective. So I think that to me was another thing that I'm continuing to kind of work with. But at the same time, I understand that my founders and my startup owners and all of these, enthusiastic people, they need immediate results. They need sales now to be able to survive for those long term. So I think that's something that I'm kind of bringing in, when I work with them.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I can say this 100% from experience that founders love the instant gratification. Yeah. I need a win now.
Exactly.
Something now.
Yeah.
The vision, obviously, and you're right, the vision gets blurred, right? You might start with saying, this is what my brand looks like, but the reality of the market hits you really hard. And that's when you realize that, okay, we'll worry about what the brand does later.
Correct.
Which I'm sure comes up a lot with founders. They're like, what the brand does, I don't care. I need to have my monthly sales. So what's the one message or what's the one argument that always kind of helps you convince these guys that they cannot let the brand go?
So I think, that conversation is never easy. And I think it's never a one-off conversation, right? Yeah. I think it's a repeated reminder, sort of, words of encouragement in a way that I have to keep feeding into their ears so that they kind of get the message eventually. But I think most do come around, right? Because I think I genuinely believe that the people that I've partnered with, they're not in it for the short term. Nobody's in it for the short term. You don't set up a business thinking, okay, 5 years down the line, I'm going to shut shop. Maybe you might think, okay, 15, 20 years, I want to sell it off. That could be a big vision, but nobody's in it immediately for the short term, right? So I think when you kind of understand and realize that, and you make the owners or the founder, startup owners, and know that you understand this, that, you're also in it for the long run. Now, if you're in it for the long run, your business model has to be in it for the long run as well, right? So I think I always bring it back to the business model. If your business model is in it for the long run, that means you've put all your economics in right place. You've identified your avenues of growth. You've identified the partnerships that you need to do. You've identified long-term investments that you need to make. These are usually your business decisions. But marketing is the same thing if you look at it with that lens, right? If I need to have a brand that 10 years down the line, consumers or my Gen Z or Alpha or whoever we're targeting is aspiring towards, I have to build from it today. Right? Yeah. So the today is what is incrementally building up to there. So I think what I try and get them to do is appreciate that, okay, this is our North Star. Now, if that is my North Star, how am I going to reach my North Star? And that North Star has to align very naturally with the business objective.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that is where that conversation usually comes into play. So I think I've been able to thankfully get most of them over the line on that North Star. Okay, this is the tone of voice. This is the brand values we want to build. And it's not going to be one mega campaign. It's going to be multiple small ones.